And my name is Arturo Torres. We'll have quite a few people here today speaking to you in regards to scheduling and solutions. Can you hear me now? Very nice. All right, thank you. And so I also want to give a shout out to the team who put this together. We have the scheduling team. We have Chelsea, Valerie, we all know Valerie, Maria in the back, Melissa, Dina, and then we have Mark and Philip. All right, without them, this couldn't be possible, so thank you. All right, guys, so we have Dr. Humphreys, our registrar, also speaking today with some solutions of what we're going to do in the future. And we have Dr. Spencer here, who's also going to talk in the perspective of the provost office. Okay, so without further ado, I'll pass the mic over to Valerie Schaefer. Everybody, a round of applause for Valerie. She's such a great
So we're going to go over the current state of scheduling, but before we get there, to really understand where we are today, you need to understand where we came from, a little bit of our history. So,
hold on. It still seems to be low.
Can you guys hear me okay? I'll talk really loudly. How about that? Is that okay? What about now? There. Okay. We just have to hold it really close. All right, so we're going to have a little flashback to 1957 when UNLV got its start. This is the actual class schedule from 1957, our very first semester. And in addition to the regular math and science courses, we had some fun alternatives. There was Journalism 101, Understanding Today's News. It's changed a little bit since then. We also had Psych 241, Mental Hygiene. I'm not really sure what that one was about. And our largest department was Secretarial Studies with 4 classes. So altogether, in 1957, we offered 87 courses. 87. For fall 2017, currently on the schedule, there are, 7,482 courses currently on the schedule for fall 17. 4,653 of those classes require classroom space. They are on campus and need a classroom. That is a huge amount of growth in just 60 years. Huge amount of growth. Now, I have a question for you guys. Do you know the last classroom building that was built on campus? You think? It was SEB, the Science and Engineering Building, and it was completed in 2009. So, it's been 8 years since we had any new classrooms. In fall of 2009, we only offered 4,973 courses total. And only 3,142 of those needed classroom space. So, since the last time we added a classroom on campus, we have grown by 3,000 classes, and almost 1,500 of them need classroom space. It's 1,500 more classes in the exact same amount of space that we had back in 2009. We had to get creative. I think we really started feeling that crunch in 2014, and that's when we unveiled a lot of our scheduling initiatives. We started the distribution goals, which I'm sure all of you guys love. So our guidelines were to aim for 30% off peak time, up to 35% in the morning during peak time, and up to 35% afternoon peak time, with 20% on Fridays and Saturdays. And from the very beginning, we were doing a very good job of meeting these distribution goals. We've done a great job of moving classes out of peak time and into off-peak time. But as you can see, our Friday-Saturday percentages have actually been decreasing. Not because we're not offering more courses. We actually are offering more Friday-Saturday courses. But we're offering so many more courses overall that the total percentage is lower. So I'm going to go through and break it down so you can see exactly how many classrooms we're using at each time during the day. This is classroom utilization. So it's the number of rooms or the percentage of rooms that are in use at each of the major time periods. So this is Monday, Wednesday. As you can see, we don't use very much at 7 a.m., but then it jumps up tremendously at 8:30 and all through peak time, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. We are using either 100% or nearly 100% of the classrooms on campus. And then it goes back down slowly through the evening. Now with the distribution goals, we have been able to improve our utilization of early morning at 7. You see how many more classes we're offering, the larger percentage of classrooms in use, and our evening numbers. We're doing a lot better than we were in the past. So we're getting our classrooms spread out. So this is Monday, Wednesday. If you look at Tuesday, Thursday, you can notice it's slightly less utilized. I'm not really sure why that is, but apparently we don't like teaching on Tuesday, Thursday. Still, during peak time, we have 100 or nearly 100% of our classrooms in use, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. pretty much. And we've made huge improvements in the morning and in late afternoon. But then you get to Friday, Saturday, and it's so sad. I mean, we just barely broke 30% of our classrooms in use at 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. only, and that was just last fall semester, fall 2016. We need to use our Friday, Saturday class time better. We have so many more students, and this is honestly the last opportunity we have to add classes. So, that was classroom utilization. I want to look at seat utilization now. So we know we're using all of our classrooms, but are we using all of the seats in our classrooms? So, as you can see, this is seat utilization on Monday, Wednesday. The percentages do go down. We're using only about 70% of our seats across the day. So you can see we have been making improvements, but fall 2015 was a great year. We made such good use of our seats, and we flipped back a little bit with fall 2016. If we look at Tuesday, Thursday, the trend continues. Again, fall 2015 was great. Fall 2016, we've gone back a little bit, except in the evenings. We've made continuous progress in the evening courses. Now, all of this progress is something to be very, very proud of. And I hope you guys realize that, but to really put it in perspective for you, oh wait, Friday, Saturday, sorry. One thing I want to point out with Friday, Saturday, these numbers really closely match the number of rooms that are in use, which suggests that any courses that are offered on Friday, Saturday really do fill up. We are placing them and using about the same amount of seats as we use rooms, so it really shows that there's a connect there on Friday, Saturday courses. Okay, so what does it all mean? Back to what I was saying. As you can see, we've made progress the last 3 years, but to put it in perspective, I want to show you some benchmarks from HESI. That's the Higher Education Space Inventory Report. This is their numbers that they put out in fall 2016. They looked at 156 colleges and universities across the U.S. and developed benchmark numbers that you can compare yourself to so you see how you're doing compared to the national average. So, classroom utilization during the standard week. The national average is 49% for classroom utilization. I have two numbers here. If you don't include Friday, because our standard week really is Monday through Thursday, if you don't include Friday, we're at 79% of our classrooms being used on average. If you do include Friday, that's where you get to 67. So either way you look at it, we are far above the national average on the number of classrooms we are using in a standard week, and that is something to be really proud of. Next is the classroom utilization during prime time. That is just looking at our prime time, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Prime time, the national average, 70% utilization of their classrooms. We are at 92% average utilization during our prime time hours. Again, so far above the national average. We should be really proud of what we've been able to accomplish there. And then the last one is seat fill utilization based on enrollment. So that is the number of students actually enrolled compared to the number of seats on campus. National average is 62%. UNLV's average is 72%. So while I was saying our classroom utilization isn't as good as our seat utilization isn't as good as our classroom utilization, we're still far exceeding the national averages. So we are doing really well. And all of that is due to you guys. your efforts in building the schedules and getting the students enrolled and making sure that the classrooms get assigned appropriately, all of that is because of you guys helping with the scheduling guidelines, and we are really appreciative of all of the work that you have done. But this is our projection for fall 2017 Impossible to Place courses. Despite everything we've done, how awesome we are still having classes scheduled that we have nowhere to put. This is a projection, but we have on Monday at 10 o'clock, 26 classes more than we have rooms on campus. 26 more classes have been scheduled than rooms on campus. There is nowhere to put those courses. We're going to have to figure out something to do with them, and that is across the board during our peak time, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. We have more classes scheduled than rooms on campus. At the same time, I understand we have increased enrollment. We have increased class demand. We have to be able to help these students, but we're going to have to be really creative in our scheduling in order to make sure that they have a class and that class has a room. And that brings me to our theme for this conference. Success starts here. The success of our university, our colleges, our departments, and most importantly, our students starts with the schedule. We need to make sure that they can take the class they need when they need it. And we need to remove bottlenecks and increase access to our courses. That'll increase graduation rates, it'll increase student satisfaction, and make our university as amazing as it could be. But we have to do all of that in the same space constraints that we currently have. So, this conference is designed to give you some tools, some tricks, some tips that other schedulers across campus have developed that have helped them build their best schedule. And I'm hoping that each of you will go to one of those sessions and you'll be able to pick up something that you can take back to your department to make your schedule better, to help your students succeed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to our registrar, Katie Humphreys. She is going to talk about some of the initiatives that we've already taken and some of our plans for the future to continue to improve our academic scheduling.
Well, hi everyone. Thank you for being here. I just popped in the room. I was a little late dealing with some grades, getting those grades turned in. But I think I overheard enough of Valerie to know that we are kicking this off with sharing our thank you to you and letting you know that this is a celebration today as well as a what else can we do. You all have put tremendous effort from your various positions into ensuring that every semester somehow we're able to go live with the schedule and get people in rooms and carry on the mission of the institution. So I don't want that to go unsaid or underemphasized today. As we go through here, I just have a few slides to share. I'm really big into transparency. I want you to know what we're doing behind the scenes. I want you to know that we're on the same page. I want you to be able to ask questions. And we don't ever want to hide what we have to work with. So we are happy to share specifically the rooms available on this campus in what is called the general purpose pool at any given time. That number has not changed in my 11 years, except for maybe one direction or the other that gets taken offline and put back on. But essentially we're working with, at the moment, 163 rooms. And as with any institution, when you are starting up an institution and you're putting your first buildings on campus, nobody's thinking about what is a appropriate room size. And if they were, they might only be thinking about it for one specific discipline. We've got all sorts of disciplines with all sorts of needs in terms of the appropriate number of students to put in that class to really have that student be successful. So we work with what we have, and we want you to kind of see the space. Those of you that are starting to work in 25 Live, and you may have worked in AdAstra previously, our previous scheduling software, you can actually see the space. You can see, okay, this room has this many seats, so on and so forth. We have two categories. We look at the seat count, and that can be different based on the actual furniture in the room. So you might have been told if you were here when a building was being developed, or you've always been told, well, that room holds 35. But depending on the furniture in the room, it may or may not. So this is what we have in our system, both of our systems that we work with. And then on the right-hand side is the total number of rooms. And we just want to share this so you get an idea of what we're working with. When you say, look at the 70 to 99 category, if you can see that, we have a whole bunch of classes in that category. We have 2 rooms on this entire campus in which to place you. So, when we say we have to be creative, we certainly don't mean that we want you teaching an inappropriate number, but if we come to you and we say, look, if you can just go to 68, we can get you into a room. This is why, and we wanted you to have that information. On the 0 to 19, something to note is that really we start at about 16. We have some class sizes that hold 16, and then we go up to 18 in that category. So another thing that we'll do or say is that we can't place you if you have a class size that's falling below, say, 10, and we ask that you try to utilize conference room or something else. Let me throw out one other piece of information for those of you working in the system. Oftentimes you'll see a room 99 or even 999. That was essentially a placeholder when the system was developed, so we don't actually have any rooms that hold 99, and oftentimes a conference room will say that. We're happy to work with you to put the exact number in there, and we can get that confirmed through construction planning as well, so it's an official number, and we're happy to do that. So the future, it's somewhat bright. We have one new building coming online, and I'll tell you, we will take what we can get. The provost office, myself, and academic and research space just had our first meeting about the actual classrooms in this building, and we've come away much more optimistic than we've been going in. I was told there'd be 2 rooms. It looks like there could be a larger number. I don't want to say exactly. I'll tell you when I do have that exact number, but it looks like we're going to be able to add a good number of classrooms into the pool. Something to note, they were all built at about 60 capacity. There's 180 or 120 auditorium in that new hospitality hall. The rest are 60. We were hoping for some 70s in there because you saw that's where we're hurting. But again, we'll see what we can do with furniture and that sort of thing and see where those end up. But that's really, really good news. The bad news, though, is that that's just one building, and I'm not aware, and someone might have information in the room that I don't, of anything else coming online anytime soon. So we get to work with what we have plus that bit of additional. That means our focus has to be on efficient and innovative scheduling. Also, something you should note is that there are some arrangements on campus. There's a couple different categories. There's departmentally arranged rooms, and in that case, that's a room that is for a specific use. It was built for a specific use. It might have equipment in the room, kinesiology, those sorts of things where you keep it for that use. We do monitor those, though, and we ensure that they're being utilized and have a high seat utilization capacity. We have to submit that to the state. But there's also some rooms in which there's just been a handshake sort of priority arrangement made, maybe way in the past. We do, again, look at those, and we will start actually actively going through those with the provost office to say, hey, is this arrangement working out the way it was originally intended? Is it good utilization of this space, and is there anything that we need to do there? Already, in advance of this, there have been some departments that have come to the University Space Committee and said, look, I'm willing to put this back in the general purpose pool because we know it could be utilized better. And then we work with them on really how they can also have their needs met. So just know that. Moving on. Want to just briefly visit some of the things we've done, and some of this may have been covered with Valerie as well. But the very first thing we did back in 2012, when I always tell the story, I ran into Carl Reiberg. He just moved into his role in the provost's office. He was out front of the library, and I looked at him, panicked, and I said, we have 2,000 classes that I can't place. So there was some issues there, utilization and optimization-wise, that we were able to work out, but we are nowhere near that. Valerie just showed you the list of impossible to place. I'm happy to see that in contrast to where we were at. But what we started to do right away is have a specific list of individuals from every department that we interact with regularly on the scheduling topic, and to include others in that up through the associate dean level, so that there's accountability within the departments for what's going on in these spaces. Everything from why a class is canceled to whether or not we're increasing at the pace that we need to be. We do an annual training refresher. That is not to annoy you. That is not to cause you heartache. It is simply because something is typically changing every year with scheduling, and we want to make sure you have that information. We'll always do both in-person and online sessions. We started an Associate Dean's Council with the Provost's office, and I see some of you here. We see each other monthly to talk about scheduling and curriculum topics. We have the scheduling forum that we held previously in 2015 where we tossed around some different ideas, and we've actually implemented successfully some of those. Now we have today's conference. We started monitoring the required courses. This comes from Deb Artiega in the Provost's office. She'll let you know when a class is starting to get full that is necessary, and same with the canceled classes, just to have a better idea. We have new cleanup queries that we can get very specific on something that needs to be changed with the class and get that information out to you quickly. We have scheduling liaisons in our office that communicate with you about that. We have enrollment-based optimization. Probably one of our biggest change makers is that we have enrollment start. So we used to place classes before there was ever any enrollment. Now enrollment kicks in, and as classes fill to an 80% capacity, they're placed in a room, and we work with you on that. We also have the distribution goals, this idea that we spread our schedule. This is the national best practice. This is where everyone is at that's doing scheduling successfully, and we're continuing to look at those. We reset the schedule in the sense that instead of just rolling everything over from one semester to the next without really examining whether it was appropriate in the same capacity it had been 5 years ago, we said, let's blank out our capacities in terms of the number of students you want in each class. Let's blank out our days and times and see if we can shake up the schedule a little bit that way. And then we have the annual cap increase initiative. So I don't have official numbers in terms of admissions, but it's looking good for the institution, which is scary for us in scheduling, and that we probably will have an increase that we need to be planning for. A couple more of these. We just this fall had to present a report to the regents. This is in response to UNR and their capacity report, where they came out and said, here's the things we're doing for scheduling. Thankfully, when we looked at that and at the 11th hour we're asked to have this big response for the board, we realized we were already doing much of that and more. We also visited UNR, sat down with their scheduling. They do central scheduling out of one office for every type of building on campus, and we learned about their best practices. Again, we were right on par with them. We are formalizing our hybrid meeting patterns. Right now, we have a situation where some of you, and this is fantastic, you're offering a class where you're in person some of the time and you're online the other part of the time. And what we are working to do is make that so that the room that you're utilizing for part of the time doesn't show as blocked for, let's say, the whole meeting pattern on Monday, Wednesday. We're working to manipulate the system such that let's say you're in there on the Mondays, that it can show free on the Wednesdays. And then we can better place classes in there versus asking you to, behind the scenes, have one class using it Monday, one class using it Wednesday. So that'll go a long way. We're working to streamline and improve the process overall with online request forms, standardized procedures, and more access for you to our third-party scheduling system. Are there any questions on any of those? I know I'm going through quickly. Okay, well, what I'd like to do now is turn it over. Oh, sorry, a couple more of these, but new distribution goals, that's what we're going to talk about next. And our 25 Live campus-wide, today there's a session on that. We also have our vendor here, that's probably been mentioned. And then we're participating on this ongoing capacity study with the Provost's office to, again, ensure that our use of space is efficient. And really my underlying motive is more space, more buildings. And when we have buildings, that they're planned appropriately in advance with classrooms in them that are general purpose and that have the appropriate room sizes that you can use and use effectively. So Reiner, I think I'm going to be passing it over to you now. So our partner here with scheduling, of course, is the Provost's office. And Reiner's going to talk about distribution.
Okay, does everyone hear me? Yes? Okay, thank you, Katie, thank you, Registrar's Office team. We're in this celebratory mood, thanking folks for doing a great job. So I can come in terms of the Provost's office and kind of, it's not exactly good cop, bad cop, but it's just a slight shift because that's the way it has to be. You know, it's interesting because Valerie was talking about how much things have changed since 1957, and of course, We had yesterday afternoon at 5 o'clock was the final grades deadline. And I can remember, 15 years ago, having access to SIS, and I would sit in my office after I'd submitted my grades and look at SIS and keep refreshing it as somebody in the registrar's office would manually input the grades I had written on a paper grade sheet into SIS, and I could watch each of my classes fill up, whereas now it's all automatic. It's wonderful, and we've got a lot of great equipment, a lot of great programs, and a lot of great people that are helping to make us as efficient as possible. Valerie mentioned the utilization. We're at 70 to 90%, depending on what you look at. We're above the national averages, and that's actually bad because we shouldn't be so high. The highest you should be, I think, is around 70%. And if you're a typical university and you had the numbers we do, you'd lower those numbers by spreading your courses out into more rooms. Unfortunately, we don't have more rooms. So the only way we can increase our efficiency is to become more crowded than we already are. As Katie mentioned, when Hospitality Hall comes online, we'll get some benefit from that, and it is a positive, but we don't want to be too excited about it because enrollments keep growing, and there's no reason to think enrollments will stop growing anytime soon. So it's a constant chase that we're undergoing. Katie also, so we have two pressures, right? We have pressures from the regents who want to see us be as efficient as possible, and it's related though different. We have pressures of trying to make sure that we fill our classes and get our students through as fast as possible. They're related, but they're slightly different. So 2 years ago, we had a similar event. It wasn't a scheduling conference, what do we call it?
Forum.
Scheduling forum 2 years ago. And we introduced EBO, enrollment-based optimization, at that scheduling forum. And there was a lot of sort of whoa in the room. I mean, like whoa, W-H-O-A, and also W-O-E, whoa, in the room. And people were saying it wouldn't work, we can't do it, our department can't do it this way, it's too many problems. And now, nobody says anything about EBO. It happens, it runs, it's part of our normal operations. So it's in that spirit that I'd like you to think about the new distribution goals, okay? And I won't go through every box here, but basically, we met the goals that we had established before, sort of shoot for, no more than goals, at least goals. We met those, and what we want to do is to try to move more classes out of the middle two areas, push them towards the first area, and also the Friday, Saturday area. We've got to make space there because that's where space is available. Also, if you can, in departments at 7 o'clock time, we have room there. And part of what we face is a culture challenge because we've had faculty who have developed and lived in a certain culture here. Some of them are old faculty, some of them are mid-range faculty, some of them are new faculty who are learning how things are done here. Unfortunately, we've got to change how things are done because we can't continue to exist with that culture. We need more classes at 7 o'clock. You know, people, the standard thing is you tell folks that, you know, there's plenty of parking at 7 o'clock. But at the same time, I mean, when I was on faculty, I think I stayed kind of late. I went home about 3 o'clock every day when I was a faculty member. Worked from 8 to 3 every day, 9 to 3 every day. Gosh, if I came in at 7, I might even go home at 2 or so. But the thing is, we've got to use what we have, and that's the space that we have available. So, unlike the previous goals, where we ask people to please try, thank you very much, in this case, it's going to be a slightly different process. If you're a unit, then we're going by departments or colleges, I can't remember.
College.
Like, if you're college,
But
well, if your unit, and we'll sort that out later, if your unit doesn't meet the new guidelines, then your unit won't be part of EBO when it runs, which means that the first time classes are distributed, rooms are distributed to folks, your unit won't be in that group, which makes it likelier that your unit will be one of those impossible to place. We'll have a lot of impossible to place courses further on down the line. This is a method of enforcement, which is why I'm the one who's up here talking about it. All right, so is everyone clear on that? Everyone understand? If you don't meet the guidelines, not goals, they're guidelines now, then you won't be in that initial EBO. So associate deans need to really look at their units' schedules to make sure that they meet these guidelines. And it's up, and if we're doing it by college, and for instance, if you've got one unit that teaches only 30 courses or 20 courses, and it's impossible for them to meet the Friday guideline, then you've also got something like the English department, which teaches 6,000 of our 7,000 courses, right? That you can use them to offset a deficiency in another part of your unit. So you associate deans have that flexibility as long as the unit itself meets that goal, okay?
And we'll provide you reports on this, so you don't have to figure it out on spreadsheets yourself. We'll get you reports that you can utilize to see where you're heading here, just like the old guidelines.
But then we'll need action on the part of the colleges to make sure these guidelines are met. Because remember, we're doing what we can to be as efficient as possible. So, turn it off. Okay, thanks. So, other possible initiatives that we're going to potentially launch. Not all of these are decided upon, but these are possible. Return to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday meeting pattern. And this is not just a return. This is not a return to that pattern. It's overlaying this pattern on the existing Tuesday, Thursday program, which sounds incredibly complicated, but I'm told that there are programs that can handle this. I'm still not sure if we're going to do this. I'm told that some folks, a lot of faculty want to do it. We've seen that we don't really get that much more efficiency out of it. There is some increased efficiency out of it. There's also some disruption that comes out of it. I kind of think I'd like to poll the faculty or the deans and find out if they really want to go this way.
So here's what I say, if we're hitting those distribution guidelines, the new ones, we have a stronger argument.
To back off.
Yep.
To do what we can to back off. Because this could be really, we're talking about a Monday, Wednesday, Friday / Tuesday, Thursday schedule. That could be very complicated. And also adding the Monday, Wednesday, Friday in takes other places out of possibility. Okay, increased use of Friday, Saturday. We talked about that. We need to push over into that area. And nobody wants to teach on Saturday. But what's wrong with Friday? I mean, seriously. I mean, this is a 5-day-a-week job. Students are coming out of high school. They don't go Monday through Thursday and stay home on Friday. They get out ridiculously early every day, and that's something that CCSD has to deal with. But they are used to a 5-day schedule. So again, I don't want to say what folks should say to faculty, but teach 2 classes on Friday and then only come in for your committee and department meetings. I'm not saying that's what should happen, but that seems like something that could happen. An incentive for folks. Stretch classes, where those are possible, is something we want to see increase. They have worked in the few areas that we've tried them.
So do you know what those are? That would be if your class started, let's say it was a fall class, but you started it at August 1st, right? And then it ran into the semester, but ended at this point, and then you could fit 2 more, that sort of thing, or you ended later.
And I'll say a little bit something related to that when we want to talk about summer term here in a second. Mini-semesters and inter-sessions. We want to try and see if we can have classes between the end of fall and the beginning of spring, sort of like a summer kind of session. There are some issues there with NSHE and Regents and what semester it's actually in and what money would pay for it, but it's something we want to try and do. Also thinking about summer term. There's something I just learned actually a few weeks ago, that summer term doesn't have to be session 1, session 2, and session 3. The 3-week, the 5-week, and the 5-week. You can create a summer term course that's 6 weeks long, that's 7 weeks long. I suppose you could have one that's 4 weeks long. Okay? So that's something you can do. If pedagogically you need that more time, if I taught summer term, and yes, it's lucrative, but it's also brutal. It's very, very brutal because it's that 2.5 hours every day for 5 weeks. Maybe some faculty would prefer to teach a summer course over a longer period of time, come in less time. Or as long as you have the hours, I suppose a summer course could be more compact and powerful, if you want to put it that way. The idea, though, is that you don't have to be locked into the 3, the 5, and the 5 for summer. If you have a need to have a longer course, We were just talking with, was it math? Or we were talking with math about how the timing of that didn't work for them, but to create their own time schedules within summer term is something that would in fact work for them. So if that's something that would be of use to you, then it's there, so it's available.
And schedulers, that's just using the dynamic session. There's a summer dynamic session or modular session.
Curricular Cohesion Initiative. This isn't really about scheduling, but it's something that's going to impact scheduling. So with curricular cohesion, we're going to look university-wide at how programs are put together. In other words, what 100 level courses do you have? What 200 level courses? What 300, what 400 level courses? What are the prerequisites for those courses? Do you have a sensible pathway for students to progress from your 101 course through to your 499 course? Does it make sense? In some cases, our curriculum is decades old because, for one thing, it's a real hassle to revise your curriculum. You have to get some faculty who will agree to do it. A subset of faculty. If you had a whole department try and do it, it would be a disaster. It would never get off the ground. So you have to convince some subset of faculty to revise the curriculum. Think about how it might be changed, how your pathways, how your prerequisites might be changed and designed better. Then it's got to be approved by a department, then it's got to be approved by curriculum. So it's something that if you had 10 things you could possibly do today, this would be number 10 on the list. But we're going to do it as a university. And what we hope is that more sensible curriculum will lead to fewer bottlenecks and more sensible scheduling. So while it's not directly about scheduling, curricular cohesion should lead to, we hope, more improved scheduling down the road. Review of department-owned space. I want to review everything. Okay, department-owned space. I also want to review what we call priority scheduling. Any of you who have units, departments that have priority scheduled rooms, that's where you get to fill the first during open build, and then once you're done, the registrar's office will then fill it up. Problem with that is it's not in the original EBO calculation, so it's something that's done later. And we want to take a look at whether or not those are being used in an efficient way. We're looking at something like 75% seat utilization in those rooms. If we're there, perhaps it's okay. I'd like to review all of those things. Honestly, both Katie and myself would like every classroom we have that isn't a class lab or departmentally owned space to be general purpose classroom space. And we'll try what we can to, I'll try what I can to achieve that.
Let me mention something most of you already know. So the scheduling system, when it runs its optimization, that's something that is called partition. You can't explain that term, but what partitions are, for our sake, is your ability to say, these are the rooms or these are the buildings in which I'd like you to try to place my class. So even with EBO or any other initiative we have running, there's always this partition-based scheduling running, optimizing based on the buildings you've identified as where you'd like your classes to be. And that's what sort of gets faculty in those different offices, not we want engineering classes to be on that part of campus, and we want business to be here and that sort of thing. So we do have a system in place.
That should work to get people where they need to be. Think of it as circles or concentric circles around your, So over when I was in anthropology, Wright Hall would have been my big number one circle. BH would have been my second circle, and then CBC would have been my third circle. So I'd first be placed in Wright Hall. If there was no room, I'd go to BEH. If there's no room there, I'd go to CBC. That should work to give mostly everyone what they want anyways. We shouldn't have a need for all this priority scheduling. So that's something I want to review and take a look back. And basically, if you want to look at it in a crude way, I'm trying to grab as much general purpose classroom space as I can so that we can do the most efficient job possible with the program that we have. And of course, we want to continue online offerings. We don't have enough space. Obviously, online offerings is a way to, one way to mitigate that. So I think I'm done.
All right, thank you, Dr. Spencer. Thank you very much, Dr. Spencer. All right, so that concludes our presentation of the PowerPoint. So from here, we have sessions that start at 1:15. Take your time, mingle a little bit, get to know your colleagues from other colleges. give us a few minutes to set up the rooms that we're going to be in. But we'll be utilizing room 209, and we have the Honors College presenting, and in room 211, we'll have Valerie presenting. So take a look at your schedules, select your classroom, but at 1:15 we'll get started. So again, please mingle. Thank you for coming, we appreciate it. And another important session, we have the round table with CollegeNet at 3:15. That is the vendor of 25 Live. So if we have any ideas, suggestions, want to talk about what CollegeNet or 25 Live has in the future, this would be your opportunity to find out.